Today, we're going to be tying the Little Devil Stonefly Nymph. So, this one is one of my true confidence patterns. I fish it as an anchor fly on a Euro Nymph rig or a tightline rig a lot. It's one of those flies you can just trust to get your rig down. It cuts through the water column really well and sinks like a rock. I fish this year round, but it really excels in those winter months and up into the stonefly hatches. You should tie up a few, it's a really great pattern. So to get started, I've got a Firehole Sticks 618 nymph hook. This is a size 10. I've got a 3.8 millimeter bead pushed to the back because we're going to take our thread and tie in some antennae at the front. This is UTC 140 denier in olive. For this step, be very careful about how much buildup you have, because the bead's going to need to go over all the work you do up here. So I'm going to take two small olive goose biots and place them back to back so they're splayed out, kind of like that. You could either tie these in one at a time or try and tie them in both at the same time. Both methods are equally frustrating, really, so it might take a couple tries. But I'm going to try and do these two at the same time. So that looks pretty okay to me. I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to lock these in and do a 3 or 4 turn whip finish up front. Remember, watch your build up. Lock it in the knot. So now we have our antenna kind of splayed out like that. Snip off your tying thread and then go in and snip or break off the two backs of the goose biots, so you're left with something that looks like that. Come up here and push your bead forward and make sure it can go over all your work and cover it up. That looks pretty good. Next we take some lead-free 015 wire, and with this particular hook and bead I like to do 11 wraps of wire. Some of it's going to get pushed up into the bead. So get our wraps on here. 4. Oh, I dropped it. Deal. Okay. 3, 4, 5. We have our wraps, and then push them all together and push what wire you can up into the bead. Next we build a little bit of a thread ramp up behind this wire. Thread. Then just build a bit of a ramp to hold that wire in place and start building up a little bit of a taper. Then come in here and just loosely cover those wraps. Then start building our way back towards the tail. So once we get back to right around where the bend starts, just slowly build up a little bit of a thread ball that we're going to use to separate the goose biot tails. Just build up the ball, your thread will kind of want to jump to the side of it, so take it slow. And then once you're good, lock it in. So you can see here, we have our little thread ball built up there. Next we take 2 more olive goose biots and place them back to back. So they'll splay out, even them up. And then about the length of the shank of the hook, measure and then tie them in. This is also not the, doesn't always go right the first time, so those look a little long to me, so I'm gonna move them up a little bit. That looks a bit better. And then tie them in. And then use the, there go the camera. Use the bulk of the biots to build up the bulk of the body. Just a little bit. They'll cooperate. Once you've got them in, you can snip off the tag ends. So I'm just building up a bit of a taper into the fly. And then an important step is to just go right behind the bead and build up some bulk right behind the bead. This will help with the way our legs splay out later, so don't skip that step. Back this off. Alright, now I have some small sculpin olive ultra wire. You can use, I like to use small size for this, but brassy will work too. And just get this tied in. And smooth out our body. Going back forward. Next, we're going to want to make even wraps. Up the body of this fly. You can use your rotary function, but currently I have my material holder stuck forward, so I'm just gonna hand wrap this wire, capture it, lock it in, and then helicopter it off. No, it'll let you. Okay. Quite captured. There we go. So that's what our stonefly body looks like so far. Next, I take some UV clear thin and just get a layer going around the body of the fly. Once you have a thin layer on there, as you can see, it's kind of flat and you can't see the segmentation. You want to just take your fingers, press down, and pull a little off of it, and the segmentation will start to show through. Once it does, just take your UV light and cure it up. Forgot to mention what pattern I'm tying this. I'm tying a Skwala-like pattern right now, but I also tie it in a golden stone and black stonefly pattern as well. I'll show those at the end of the video. But once we have our UV clear cured up, take just a small rope of dubbing. This is Antron sparkle dubbing in olive. Just build up a bit of a rope. Probably need a little bit more. Alright, so move the fly down to where you want your thorax to, or move your thread down to where you want your to start, and then just create a little ball of dubbing. Now I've got a strip of thin skin and golden stone, and I've cut little notches in each side of it. So each side has notches. And then take one side of it and get it oriented on the top of the fly. Slick. And then I can kind of jostle it into place. Okay. Place it. Sometimes this can be a little tough to manage. So that's what the first part of the wing case will look like. Once we have it where we like it, just snip it off close. And cover it up. Next, I have some olive colored flexi floss. I'm gonna use these for our legs. So just snip an appropriate length. Tie it in, get it oriented. And the reason we built up so much thread around the bead is if you have a really narrow section near the bead, this particular leg will tend to go back like that. But since we build up a bit of a ramp, it'll splay out and do that kind of V pattern. It's an important step, don't skip it or else your legs will look a little funky. We go ahead and do the other side. So now both sides are splayed out correctly. Thread going back. And then we take another long, thin rope of dubbing. Since we've already built up quite a bit of bulk around the legs. Just get this on, cover up our thread wraps. So you have something that kind of looks like that, just lightly covered. We then take the other end of our thin skin and put in a second wing case. Something kind of like that. And then lock it in. Make 3 or 4 good wraps over and then pull it up, fold it over, and then go behind everything here. Come up here and snip it off. Fairly close, but not perfectly close. And now that gives like three of those wing pad type look. We then go in with our whip finish tool. For a slot of backtracking bar on this fly. Thread locked in. And then snip it off. Last step is to come in here with our legs. Just kind of snip them off evenly. I kind of like longer legs on this guy, but you can cut them as long or as short as you like. Something like that. And that's your little devil stonefly. It's heavy, it'll sink really fast, pretty simple, easy tie. Hope you enjoyed it.